So today really was about course strand 3 and 4, course strand 3, key challenges that create barriers to supporting the needs of learners with ALN, and 4, looking at inclusive classroom practice. So within that, some of the challenges that create barriers for inclusive practice we've reflected upon. Some of the key challenges to supporting learners with ALN, things like teacher expectancy, labelling, accountability, looking at things like what does current ALM practice look like? As Christina has talked about in a session there, looking at reflection as a tool of inclusive practice. There were several models there for you to kind of look at and try out. And also the theme of collaborative practice and how important that is. And that was reiterated by our guest speakers as well. So other things we've looked at, how the classroom environment or curriculum and even assessment methods may create barriers for learners, identifying how attitudes of teachers and parents and learners could be a barrier to inclusive education, looking at this thing, inclusive pedagogy, extending options for learners, learning available to everyone, moving away from kind of concepts of fixed stability or a more deterministic approaches, if you like. Okay, in terms of our sessions from our expert contributors, I thought were inspiring, really. Great advocates for CPD, and great examples of that. We looked at the importance of belonging. That came out as a big theme, didn't it? In addition to inclusion, that sense of belonging, making learners feel safe, strong pastoral arrangements, more holistic approach to personal development and learning, and really kind of, developing learner independence going forward in the future for them. We looked, then looked at person-centered approaches, improve learner engagement, including a voice of the child, as well as input from parents and how important that is. And we know how important that is from a legislative context as well. And this idea, that came forward from Eve about equity rather than equality, that actually it's about what each learner as an individual needs. They talked about the key role played by training and CPD in the development of inclusive practice on both the individual and on a more strategic level. That we had people who were responsible for learning across several, local authority or across several sites. And now that really is important and getting everybody on the same page. And again, strong collaborative relationships both within a setting and externally. The effective uses of resources came through, obviously, from Bethan very strongly, and more notably the deployment of staff. Okay, so some key challenges as well came out from those discussions. Developing that shared vision, was a big one, wasn't it? And eliciting buy-in from colleagues, establishing that consistency of approaches and that consistency of understanding underpinning that to inclusion, both in a setting and more strategically. Government funding came across as a big issue, at a time when more is expected. So having to do less with more in a backdrop of steadily rising need, and also being able to provide choice and flexibility regarding assessment of learners, especially learners with ALN, so that we can enable them to demonstrate their skills and learning. So in terms of where we go next, continue to engage with optional drop-in centres at your home universities. Continue to work through, reflective activities on the resources that you've got, and actually, just take the time to consider that assignment question as well. Just revisit some of the points that were made this morning by Laura in her session regarding those 2 to 3 strategies that you need to explore in depth. How those strategies may accord with the current policy direction, and also this other issue about how do they sit in terms of practice? Do they challenge practice? I just want to add as well, I have put together this on a PowerPoint. I will send this through to Di, and I will kind of make that available to you. There is on the end of this as well a module evaluation, a kind of a QR code for you to click on as well. Um, so there we are. I hope you've had a fantastic day. I hope you're looking forward to the rugby and a positive result. And yeah, just a big thank you from all of us.